You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to more of the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou, and today we are discussing the Nfc East division, breaking them down in a power rankings, ranking the teams from 4 to 1, talking about who I like and who I think is going to maybe have a little bit of a tougher road as they try to put things together going into the 2022 NFL season. So as always, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below. How do you think the NFC East shakes out? Who do you think comes out the top? Who comes at the bottom? And again, don't forget to subscribe as we get closer to 500 subs. We hit that number, and I am doing a giveaway, giving away some of my show t-shirts to you guys. I appreciate you all so much for stopping by and watching all these and talking to me and everything like that. It's a blast working with you all. So make sure you comment down below, hit the subscribe button, and let's talk some NFC East. Now, this division, I think is up in the air again this year. It was last year, and the Cowboys kind of came out as the definitive number one team. I don't think things are as separated as they were last year. And I think you'll be surprised who I have sitting at the top here. So we'll start at number 4. And this is probably one of the easier picks of the group. And I'm going to go with the New York Giants, a team that has some turnover with the roster, a new head coaching staff. Edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be an exciting piece to watch on the defensive side of the football. Offensive tackle Evan Neal is a monster and what some people would consider one of the most sure bets coming out of this draft class. You're looking at two studs, two pieces on both the offense and the defense coming in to infuse some talent onto a team that really needed some help last year on both those fronts. Both the offensive line and defensive line left a lot to be desired last year. So credit to the Giants for going ahead and addressing those two team needs with their top picks right out of the gate in the draft there. Then you couple that with what they did in free agency. They went and got offensive guard Mark Glowinski, if you don't know who that is, from the Indianapolis Colts. I thought he was a solid guy for Indy. I'm a Colts fan, so watching him go to the Giants hurt me a little bit because he was a part of a solid offensive line group, but you got to make money. You got to cut some people and, save some money somewhere. And Mark over there in a Giants uniform now should bode well for the Giants. You also look at guard John Feliciano, defensive end Jahan Ward, some solid additions, again, on the offensive line and the defensive line, the two probably biggest areas of need for this team. So I love that the Giants went ahead and really started addressing where their two biggest issues lied. Now, my biggest question really here is just, can the Giants put it all together? You have a ton of skill talent at the wide receiver group. You are talking Sterling Shepard, Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton, who a couple of years ago I really thought was like one of the next emerging wide receivers in the league. That's 4 really good wide receivers, or at least on paper should be really good wide receivers. Sterling Shepard at one point was a solid guy himself and has kind of fallen off with injuries and missed time, but can they finally put it all together? This was a wide receiver group that a lot of people liked, and I liked as well going into last year. I think I had the Giants ranked as the number 2 team in the division, potentially even the number 1, because I thought so highly of that wide receiver core. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is another thing. You have him still there, and he has not produced quite as much as you'd want him to have since his rookie season, but they have a lot of pieces. You have a great coach now in Brian Daboll, highly regarded, coming from Buffalo. It's just, can the Giants finally put it together and get back to winning football over there in New York? I really like this team on paper. I'm a little bit more worried about the defense this year than I am the offense, just because, like I said, they went so heavy fortifying the O-line, and that was probably one of the bigger issues there. I don't know if Daniel Jones is the guy or not. They opted against his fifth year option, So going into his 4th year now, we're going to have to see, this is do or die for him. Can he limit the turnovers? Can he make the plays necessary? Can he protect the football and get rid of it when he should be? He's an awesome athlete. He can make plays with his legs, and every now and again, he has a throw or two that you're like, that's why the Giants drafted him. But he needs to put it together more consistently. This is a team of just can-theys, I feel like. That's what I find myself saying over and over and over. Can they? Hopefully they can prove me wrong. I don't know if they can. Can they? Maybe. But we'll have to see what the Giants do here. Coming in at the number 3 spot, and I don't really know what to make of this team, but I do know that on paper, I like their roster better than I do the Giants. And also, coaching staff-wise, you're going to year 2 with Ron Rivera, the Washington Commanders. You have a quarterback now in Carson Wentz. Like I mentioned, I am a Colts fan, so you could probably guess what my feelings are towards Carson Wentz as a QB. Now, do I think he brings a little more stability than what they've had there recently? Sure. You could argue that. You also have wide receiver Terry McLaurin, rookie wide receiver Jahan Dotson. I think that pairing there is going to be a fun one to watch. I think that, Jahan Dotson is a stud, and he was actually somebody I wanted the Colts to go after. Did not expect the Commanders to take him as early as they did. I didn't even expect him to go in the first round. I knew he was a potentially late day one, but I thought, he was probably a second-round guy, early second-round guy you could go after. Now, you look at the draftees, like I mentioned, Jahan Dotson, Fidarian Mathis should be good for that defensive line. I love the willingness for the Commanders to go after that defensive front because it's been impressive the last few years. Injuries last year kind of slowed things down. Chase Young is going to potentially start the season a little bit later this year, as Ron Rivera alluded to earlier this week at a press conference. But, I like the defensive front when it's healthy. Secondary, not bad. Offensive side of the ball, they have some skilled players. Brian Robinson is a running back who's going to come in and be a change of pace for them. Now, I guess it just really boils down to how does this O-line look? How does Carson Wentz play? Is he less reckless with the football? Can he stay healthy? And can the defense return to its dominant form? A couple of years ago, this team brought the Super Bowl champion Bucs of that season to the absolute brink. In a wild card playoff game, they nearly knocked the Bucs out of the playoffs, and they didn't really have an offense to go by. It was the defense carrying them in that game. I think with Ron Rivera, this team has definitely kind of turned the ship around and is moving in the right direction. They're getting a good group of talent put together, especially on the offensive side of the football. I'm excited for this team. I think that they're a little bit ahead of the Giants, and they're heading in the right direction. But there's a space, I would say, between 4 and 3 and then the 2 and 1 teams of this division here. Now, coming in at number 2, and I'm sure this is going to be a hotly contested one, but I have my reservations about my number 2 team, and there's some things I really like about the number 1 team, and we'll talk about them when they get there. But in the number 2 spot here, I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. There is a lot to be concerned about with Dallas. The defense, ton of yards let up last year. While Trayvon Diggs had an all-pro season, you cannot ignore the 1,000 yards or so he let up in coverage. Guy's a turnover machine, won an all-pro. I get it. But still, secondary, little bit concerning. On top of that, you look at some of the players lost on offense. Amari Cooper is gone. Cedric Wilson, also gone. Offensive line lost a couple of pieces. You lose both Lael Collins and center Connor Williams. I'm a little bit concerned. This is not the offensive line that Ezekiel Elliott was running behind his rookie season and Dak Prescott was playing behind his rookie season. They've lost a lot of pieces. Then you cover that with combine that with the fact that the defense was not bad. I don't want to say bad. Definitely not bad. You have star rookie Micah Parsons coming in for his second year, and while I don't know he's going to match his performance from last year, I think he's going to be a star in the league, and I think he's going to be a problem. But I assume that offenses will be a little bit more prepared for how good he is. There's a lot of just moving parts and questions on this team, and Michael Gallup might not even be able to start week 1, maybe week 2, week 3. He just recently said himself to reporters, week 1's not realistic for him. I'm a little bit concerned about the offensive side of the ball, at least for the first few weeks of the season, and I think that might set them back a little bit. There's a strong potential that, from the draft class, Tyler Smith, Sam Williams, Jalen Tolbert, Matt Waletzko, guys like that, maybe they come in, and they can hold it down till some guys come back from injury, or they can just hold it down and eventually become pros. But I just, there's so much lost from this Cowboys team from last year. I don't know if you can just sit here and say they're the definitive number 1 team. I don't know if you can say that. I didn't have them as the number 1 team last year, and I was definitely wrong on that part. They definitely ran away with the division, but I don't see the Dallas Cowboys being as strong as they were last year. A lot of losses on this team and not enough recovery, I would say. The fact that you somehow only got a 6th round selection for Amari Cooper is baffling to me. He is such a good talent. I understand, at the time, he had $16 million in money that, the Browns were taking over. Look at what some of the top wide receivers are getting paid now. That's like a discounted wide receiver at this point. Can CeeDee Lamb step up and be wide receiver number 1? Probably. I think he's talented enough to do it. I think that he is. I think he's a number 1. He hasn't really played the number 1 role yet, but now he's getting his opportunity. I definitely think he thrives in the role. I think CeeDee Lamb is an absolute threat. Marcus Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott as a duo, pretty solid group. If Ezekiel Elliott can recapture some of his form from like the earlier portion of his career, this team would be a little bit more threatening to me. But right now, defense needs to tighten up. Offensive line, not quite what it used to be. Michael Gallup is not going to be ready week 1, and you also lost Cedric Wilson and Amari Cooper, 2 other guys who got significant playing time for you at the wide receiver position last year. You better hope Kevontae Turpin steps up and looks like the USFL MVP he did, because I'm slightly worried about the Cowboys right now. I still think they're the second best team in the division, but I'm a little bit concerned about the amount of losses this team took and where they're going into this next year. Then coming in at the number 1 spot, of course, we're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles here, only other team remaining in the division, a team that made it to the playoffs, kind of got whacked by the Buccaneers. Defense did not really hold up their end of the bargain. Offense didn't look too great itself, but they did a good job retooling, reloading, and getting set to try to make it and run it back to the playoffs. They are all in on Jalen Hurts, and I love to see it. The addition of A.J. Brown on the offense is massive because that really opens up things in the passing game. A.J. Brown is a legit number 1, and when he's healthy, I have said this a lot, an arguable top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. I think he brings a massive piece to that offensive unit that allows them to stop being such a... And I understand they were successful doing it, but it adds more... It adds more depth to your offense, and it keeps defenses guessing a little bit more because you have to account for A.J. Brown when he's healthy. You have to. He is that good. So now you have A.J. Brown over there. You bring in Jordan Davis, awesome defensive tackle from the draft. Cam Jurgens will help, take care of Kelsey when he decides to retire at the center position, probably at the end of this year, but he'll be able to learn behind Kelsey till then. Linebacker Nakobe Dean. People were worried about injuries in the draft process. He ended up slipping. They got him. He's an athletic stud. I know some people are worried about his size. I would just say you look at someone like Shaquille Leonard from the Colts. He's a guy that is a little bit undersized, plays at around like 215 pounds. He's a stud. I think Nakobe Dean, while I'm not going to sit here and say he's Leonard, he could potentially shine and be just as good of an athletic type of linebacker. You look at the free agent additions, Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury. Reddick should be awesome for this team. James Bradbury had a little bit of a down year last year, but I do think he can be a serviceable piece. I don't think you need to rely on him as like cornerback number 1, but I do think he probably gets some decent playing time in this secondary. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But minimal losses in free agency, solid additions in free agency. Draft class is really good. I would say probably my favorite draft class of the entire division here. I like what they're doing. They're all in on Jalen Hurts, despite the noise around Philadelphia where some people really doubt Hurts and don't really feel like he's the guy. He's a good passer. If he can elevate to a great passer and continue to be as dominant as he is with his legs, and they're able to, mix and match that crazy running game they had last year with an effective passing game now that they have some really good receiving talent. I mean, Dallas Goedert's over there, and you cannot forget about him. He's a really, really good pass-catching tight end. I mean, my biggest issue really going into this season for them is just, did the defense get any better? I guess my biggest question, you should say, not really issue, but question. Did the defense get better? I hope so. I would assume with some of the additions they had, it does. It definitely feels like it's going to be a little bit more athletic and a little bit more deadly and not as easy and as of a pushover for a team like the Buccaneers to just kind of steamroll through. But we'll see. I like the way they look on paper. I feel like they're trending in the right direction. I'm a big fan of everything they got going on over there. I think Nick Sirianni, I was not really high on him going into last season, but he impressed the hell. And I'm a Colts fan. He literally came from the Colts. I think that he really proved a lot of people wrong, bringing the Eagles to the playoffs, a team that I don't think a lot of people expected to go to the playoffs. Yeah, they were the number 7 seed, but it is what it is. They brought them to the playoffs. I'm excited to see what they do in year 2. I like the group. I like the all-in feel that this team has. You would have thought they would probably be rebuilding a little bit longer than this, but they feel locked, loaded, and ready to go, and I'm here for it. But that is my NFC East power rankings. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. Again, comment, let's discuss. Love to hear your guys' opinions. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and all that good stuff. I will see you all next time. I appreciate y'all for watching. Have a good one.